Right. I'm going to hit record. So for people that cannot join us, or if the call drops, I can share the recording with you later. We'll wait just one more minute and see who hops on and I'll get started. Well, I think I'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure we'll have many people join us as we go along here. Like I said, I'm going to record this, so if people come in later, they'll be able to see a recording of it. But first, welcome to the Moonshots for Development, otherwise known as M4D, the Open Innovation Challenge information session. My name's Kelly Badian, and I'll be walking you through today's session. My colleague Jesse just came on. There he is. He'll be joining us on the call. He'll be helping me to answer some of your questions as we go through. Hopefully, most of my presentation will answer your questions. So in today's session, we're going to go over information about the program, who's eligible to apply, how to apply, and then some important dates. And then at the end, we'll save time for questions. And as we go, Jesse will be monitoring the chat, but you may want to wait until we're towards the end of the presentation to ask questions, as it's likely we may cover your question through the course of the presentation. So first, I wanted to talk a little bit about the people that have made the Moonshots for Development Open Innovation Challenge possible. So this has been made possible by a consortium of several organizations, and this initiative is powered by the International Fund for Agricultural Development, or IFAD, the Asian Development Bank, IDB Lab, CGIAR, Accelerate for Impact, the European Space Agency, the International Innovation Hub, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and the European Institute for Innovation for Sustainability. My organization, oh, sorry, just jumped way ahead. There we go. My organization that I represent is VentureWell. We help implement the program. We are the grant manager of it. So VentureWell is a US-based organization, and we have global reach. So we provide support in training and access to networks and resources for innovators like you who are solving some of these difficult challenges of the world. So we've been around for over 30 years now. We've trained nearly 8,000 early stage innovation teams. We've launched more than 6,000 ventures that have reached over millions of people actually in 54 countries, with advancements in fields like biotechnology, healthcare, sustainable energy and materials, and solutions for low resource settings. These ventures overall have raised over $7.8 billion in public and private investments. So hopefully you feel like we know what we're doing. So the challenge. So the M4D challenge is a program aimed to identify and accelerate solutions that address the needs of smallholder farmers, rural communities, and indigenous populations. So through this challenge, we're looking for solutions that build resilient food systems across four major tracks. So the first track is insurance solutions for resilient food systems. The second track, agroecology for climate adaptation and resilience. The third track, digital extension for accountable service delivery. And then the fourth one is reducing drivers of fragility. So among particular interest is solutions that are looking at using AI or geospatial analysis to create positive impact. I know that we have much longer descriptions of what each of these tracks means, so I will have you go to our website. Hopefully you've already seen it. You can look at those descriptions and help determine if you have alignment with one of the challenges. So the priority for M4D is ensuring that the impact of all of these solutions is accessible to smallholder farmers and rural households. So in cases where solutions are engaging end users directly, the technology should be context appropriate. It should account for issues like internet connectivity and a feature phone prevalence. All right. So the program, how it works. So M4D program is a staged program. So a team must be selected for one stage before they're allowed to, and complete the one stage before they become eligible to apply to the next. So throughout the program, VentureWell will help teams navigate through these program stages and be connecting them with resources from those participating agencies that I talked about earlier. So the first stage, this is where you have to start. Everybody must start at this stage. This is what you're applying for. We'll call it phase 0 or the boot camp stage. This is where we'll be selecting up to 20 teams through this competition. So the phase of the program will include a virtual boot camp, which is a multi-day virtual training, approximately 3 half days. And then that will be centered on business model development. And then over the course of the month, there'll be personalized mentorship as well. So although this stage does not have funding associated with it, it does get your project in front of some of the folks in the consortium that I talked about in the beginning. So it is an important stage. Even if you're further along, you kind of have to go to this stage to get to the next one. So teams that successfully complete the first boot camp stage will then be eligible to apply to phase 1. Phase 1 comes with 3 months of additional coaching tailored to your team's business development needs, access to that broader M4D resources and the networks, and plus up to 10,000 US dollars. We expect about half of the 20 teams to be accepted into that phase 1. So it narrows like a funnel as you go through. Teams that complete phase 1 will be then eligible to apply to phase 2, where we're expecting up to 4 teams to be receiving awards of up to 100,000 US dollars. And they'll receive support with piloting and implementation. And then finally, up to 2 of those teams will make it to the final stage or phase 3, where they'll be awarded up to 250,000 US dollars to further support them as they scale their business. So I wanted to note that the funds I'm talking about here that are awarded to teams, they're non-dilutive funds, so no equity or debt funding. And there's no matching funds required of this program. Okay, so who's eligible? To be eligible for the challenge, applicants must be, first of all, committed. The proposal should have at least one team member that's in a key leadership role. So someone like CEO, CTO, founders, managing director, and they must commit to the full participation of the program, which includes in this first stage of that virtual boot camp and the 1 month of mentoring sessions. And we're also looking for applicants that are committed to going through all of the stages. So we want teams that want to go through every stage, of course, and be applying for the next stages. You also will need to align with the M4D priorities. So some of those are strengthening local institutions and community governance for accountable service delivery and social cohesion, improving food and nutrition security via resilient, inclusive food systems, last mile market and extension access, advancing sustainable natural resource management and climate adaptation, including anticipatory actions, and or empowering women, youth, and vulnerable groups with inclusive approaches that make them agents of resilience. We want to see a dedication to positive impact. So applicants should show impact that's aligned with at least one UN Sustainable Development Goal, and then of course alignment with one of the 4 tracks. So the insurance, agroecology, digital extension, and fragility. You can only really apply for one track. So again, we want a bonus is if your solution uses AI or geospatial analysis to create that positive impact for smallholder farmers and rural communities. You must be a legally registered enterprise. So that enterprise might be for profit or nonprofit. We've had a lot of people ask about academic institutions or governmental agencies. They are eligible to apply, but one of the things that is one of our mandates is to serve private enterprises. So we would want to see any of the public institutions having plans for spinning out into a private enterprise. And then this one people have asked about a lot, so I'm going to try to expand on it a little bit here, but we're looking for validated business models. And when we say validated, we're using a very broad definition of validation. So obvious validation would be something like early revenue, but this might also look like other things like prototype testing results, MOUs and partnership agreements, user feedback, or high engagement. So we use kind of a broader term for that. And then also we want you to have a functional product or service that's already a working model and can be piloted within the next 12 months. And then the last thing is you must be 18 or older to apply. All right. So how do we apply is the next question. All applications must be submitted through VentureWell's online application platform. Just so you know, all deadlines that you see, unless it's otherwise noted, would be at 11:59 p.m. Eastern US time. That's kind of what we use. It will be noted if it's something different. So to apply, you're going to go to the m4d.org website and you use the button that says apply today. From there, you're going to be asked to create an account or use an existing one if for some reason you already have one. On this slide, you can see to the right, that's what it will look like when you're creating your sign-in. Just a word of note, once you get into the application, you may start, save, stop, and return to your application at any time before submitting. I recommend that you start your application early and well before the deadline so you have plenty of time to edit, proofread, gather any supporting documents. And once you submit that application, though, it does become locked. So you'll want to make sure you go over it and go over it before you hit that submit, but definitely make sure you're submitting before that deadline if you're doing that. And then this picture here just shows once you've done a sign-in, it opens up a page of opportunities. I've circled the one that's Moonshots for Development. That's what you'll look for. You'll click on the arrow and that will get you started, get you into the application and get you started. And from there, it's actually very, very user-friendly. So that application has actually 4 parts. The first part collects information about your organization or company and your proposed solution. The second session is information about you and the team. The third section involves uploading materials, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And then the fourth covers information on cost and budget related to your proposed solution and a timeline. So the budget should kind of outline how much you need to achieve key milestones. As far as things you're going to be uploading, and I wanted to make sure I go over what you need to have ready. First of all, you'll be uploading resumes. You're allowed to upload up to 4 resumes of key personnel these are people who will be involved in implementing your proposed solution. So for our uploads, you can upload a PDF, you can upload the file, or you can upload a link to the file. And you do not need to do both. You just do one or the other. But I really want to warn, this has happened already, that if you're providing a link, just make sure that the link allows anyone with a link to access it. So like if you're using a Google Doc or something on Google, you got to go into the share and make sure that you have it, anyone with a link can view it. The second thing you'll be uploading is a pitch deck. So the pitch deck, what we want, we don't have a template. We don't have a specific template for you on the pitch deck, but you will want to make sure that your pitch deck does have your proposed solution and your business model in it. Again, it can be a PDF, it could be a PowerPoint, Apple Keynote file. Again, if you're linking to it, make sure that anybody can view it. And then the final thing you'll have to upload is a pitch video. So what we're looking for is a very short video that introduces yourself and your solution, 2 minutes or less. So this is very short, and we're not looking for professionally produced videos. A simple video is just fine. So again, upload or link to a file. If you're linking, you could link it to a YouTube, a Vimeo, Instagram, Facebook, and then just share the link. Again, making sure we have that access though. Okay, so again, that application is accessed through m4d.org, the website. You're going to scroll, when you get there, you got to scroll down to the homepage and you're going to look for the picture that you see here to the right, then you know you're in the right section. And other things you'll be able to find on the website, that information, specific information about each track is on there. We have FAQs. We have links for you if you have a very specific question that's maybe, you know, in this setting with a lot of people, maybe it's too specific. I have a link on there where you can sign up for an office hour with me and we can spend 15 minutes and you can ask your question directly. Also, you have my email. My email is on the website. The other email, if you have problems just with the platform, like getting into the platform or signing up, you'd want to contact grants@venturewell.org. That is also on the website. So anything about the program, about eligibility, you'd want to send that to me. And my email is the one that's kbadian@venturewell.org. All right. Some key deadlines I wanted to mention. The application is due March 30th. We recommend that you not wait until those final days to submit. We don't foresee that this is going to be extended. In fact, I'd be really shocked based on the numbers we're already seeing if that would happen. We plan to do the selection period in April. So selection is done by a jury. Those 20 teams that are selected would be notified hopefully by early May. But I say this all with it's subject to change, but it won't be much different than that. And then we intend to have that virtual boot camp phase starting in mid to late May. And then applications will be due after that. Once we start that phase, will be due for the phase one. And if you're in phase 0, you will get lots of information about what you need to do to apply for phase 1. All right, I wanted to go over, before we open this up to questions, some of the common questions we've been seeing and answer them. So one of the things we've been asked a lot is, my organization is nonprofit. Are we eligible to apply? As I said before, yes, nonprofit, for-profit, you are eligible to apply. You need to make sure you're legally registered, because at some point in this process, you'll have to show your registration for us to be able to pass any of the funds along, for example. This does include academic institutions or governmental organizations. But like I said, we're looking for projects that will be spinning off as their own thing, as their own private enterprise, whether that be for-profit or nonprofit. And the other thing, we'll be gathering information when we've shortlisted for any conflicts of interest, because we want to ensure this is very transparent. I get a lot of questions like, I'm from this country, are we eligible to apply? So yes, it's a global call. So anybody is eligible to apply, but you do want to make sure that your solution is addressing the challenges of smallholder farmers in rural areas and primarily in low to middle income countries. If we make it to the award stage, is it equity free? Yes, the awards in phase 1 through 3 are all equity free. We had this question earlier today. What if my solution applies to more than one of the tracks? Which happens, but what you need to do in that case is you really do need to select just one track. So when thinking about your solution, think about which track is it most aligned with. And I've had people actually email me also. You could email me a small description or have an office hour with me, and we could talk about it to determine which track maybe best fits. We've also had people ask about having multiple partners or a consortium, and do they all need to apply? We're only looking for one lead applicant to apply in this case. So you must decide who's the best lead applicant to apply on behalf of the project. All right. All right. Well, we can address any questions you have now. I'm going to take my screen off of share so we can just see each other. Okay, that worked. And my colleague Jesse's here too. So, Jesse, are you seeing anything that's been in the chat
Yeah, thank you for the
that I
presentation,
haven't
Kelly. I've
covered?
responded to about a dozen questions in the chat so far,
Ooh,
and we can voice over
you've been
some of
busy.
those. Um, yeah, it's a good discussion so far.
All right.
Um, I
And
see a question about validation, and this came up quite a bit this morning. Is the program only tested solutions and products at MVP? You'll see in the application guidelines that we're asking for a minimum of technology readiness level 6. There's some information about what that means on the website. You can read more online. We're looking for a product that's been tested in a commercial or pre-commercial environment. So there should be evidence that your product works. It needs to be beyond concept stage and even beyond like a lab test or a bench test. Um, when we're talking about validation, what we mean is uh, customers have demonstrated demand for this product, or public payers have demonstrated demand for this product. This may come in the form of an MOU for future engagements. It may come in the form of a letter of intent. As Kelly mentioned, we'd like to see among the many types of validation, um, it includes kind of um, various feedback from the customers, beneficiaries, payers, again, that say your business model is functional or your delivery model is functional. Um, we are casting a wide net for what that means. And so, Joseph, is it only for products tested at MVP? That really depends on um, how MVP is understood. But for eligibility, we're fairly open here. I hope that answers your question.
and feel free to come off mute if you'd like to, if you have more questions and would like to ask it directly now. We don't have so many people in the room, so we can easily do this. Or raise your hand and we'll call on you.
Mhm. I see a question from Dimitri regarding the financial documents to prepare it for the whole grant or for the first phase. Uh, Actually, neither. So the financial documents that we ask you for at the beginning are for a financial model or a financial projection that help us understand the mechanics of your business model and not your plans for using the initial tranche of funding. If you're accepted into the program and into that phase one that of $10,000, we will ask you for a expected budget and KPIs that you will work towards over the course of the 3-month period. But we're not asking for that budget in the initial phase. Yeah. I see a question from Esther about a consortium from Europe working in an African country. Yes, there are no geographic restrictions on the awards. We're open to applications from any country working in any country. I see a question from Pramali. Each stage is critical since limited projects will be successful. Yes. Um, we are using a stage gating approach. So there was a question earlier about what will be the selection criteria for phase one, two, and three after phase zero. Those selection criteria are largely the same, but we will have information about the progress made towards goals. We'll get to know you a little bit through the coaching, and we'll be able to assess your readiness for a pilot. Um, so that information will complement the alignment to the track and alignment to the Moonshots for Development members' priorities.
Jesse, we had
Uh,
a question about if we're going to anticipate this happening again next year. You got that question
yeah.
earlier
Uh,
today.
yeah, thanks for that question, Catherine. We don't know. This program has happened in various forms in the past. We don't have any guarantees that it will happen next year. Um, is the amount per stage fixed? You'll note on the website that the funding amounts at each stage say up to. We expect to fund teams, ventures, enterprises at up to the amounts listed on those phases. So $10,000 in phase one, $100,000 in phase two, and 250 in phase three. Right. Can I invite anyone to come off mute and ask their question live? I'm happy to keep reading, but would love to
Much
hear from
easier.
you. Yeah. Okay.
Happy to ask an out loud question. Um,
Yay.
I have been in tech for 25 years and have worked through many commercial product offerings, but I'm thinking about a more efficient way of bringing new tech to the market with a venture studio. So we don't have trials necessarily yet, but this is something I want to invest in and building a team around in food supply chain areas of concern. Is that is that a qualifying type of approach? It would definitely lift capability in small farms throughout Australasia. I'm calling from New Zealand.
hmm Can you tell us a bit about the product focus?
So it's taking a bunch of ideas, for example, water sensor qualitative data, and putting that into a platform for decision making for
hmm
farms. That would be one loosely described idea.
So I can
And
give you the
so
answer
we'd
in
be
two ways.
commercializing those ideas faster as the idea behind a venture studio model.
Okay. I'll give you two different responses. One is, of course, we can't weigh in on a complete idea without seeing your whole application. The helpful answer, though, is I would encourage you to apply with one of those concepts or ideas rather than the entire venture studio. I don't know if that was embedded in your question at all. And then um, second, I'll say some form of validation is necessary. However, you'd like to frame that validation, if you can um, say that you've got some evidence that it works, then I think you'll have a stronger application. And then you can also strengthen your application by incorporating technologies in the cross-cutting themes, either AI tools or geospatial analysis. Both of those would boost your relevance um, if you think
Great.
you're stretching towards validation.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Um, I see a question from Gerald about um, we want to scale up a customer GPT or agentic AI. Um, Gerald, tough to say without understanding more of the programmatic focus of your agentic AI. Um, I would say if you are, um, it says your farmers are already using this app in rural Nepal, then I suspect you have some um, engagement or potentially even paying customers to point to that would certainly be far enough along. Um, and if you plan to incorporate AI features within the award period, that would certainly um, make you eligible. I would again point you towards alignment to the challenge tracks. I think the more closely that you can align with those four categories, um, that's probably what will strengthen you the most. All right. Can organizations that do not directly implement business models but support smallholder farmers in implementing the model? Yes. Melson, I see we're open to a variety of entity types, nonprofit and for-profit, as well as academic institutions. Um, we want to see that you have a delivery model that is sustainable. So hopefully, even if farmers aren't the ones paying for your service, you've identified who would, what value you deliver to that payer, and uh, but broadly, yes, we're open to a variety of entities and funding models from the enterprises that are admitted.
And
Um,
Jesse, I see a question here about someone that joined late. I am recording this session, and afterward, I will send to all of you the recording, and I can send you the slide deck I used as well.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly.
All right. Um, can the MVP be established prior art where the novelty is replacing an input material? Fred, I'm not totally sure that I understand your question. If this is a question that's specific to your proposal, I would suggest you sign up for an office hour slot. You can sign up on the website. Um, um, I think if you're talking about applying established IP to a novel problem, that I think that's a well accepted form of innovation. Would need to know more about your actual proposal. All right. Um, can you? Yes. Okay. We do. We will have a recording. All right. We have about 10% of the attendees on this call that we had this morning. Morning for us. I'm sure another time for you all. So it's possible that we've gotten through your questions already. Would anyone like to come off mute and ask anything else? IP protection. We have no plans to um, take IP. There's no equity or IP claim from VentureWell throughout this program. Yeah. Okay. Um, Kelly and I will hang on for just another a minute if anybody wants to ask another question, but if not, I will thank you for your time. We're excited for the interest that's been expressed for the program, and we look forward to seeing more of you through your applications and at the bootcamp.
Thanks very much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Kelly, I think we can close down.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jesse. I hope Yash went to bed with no problems.
We made it. Yeah,
Okay, good.
easy peasy. Okay,
All
take
right.
care.
Thanks, Jesse.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Yeah, thank